When it comes to arguing, there's a million ways you can go about doing it. However, if you actually want to win the argument, then there are specific tactics that can be used to come out on top every time. In this video, we're going to analyze Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro, who are both known for their abilities to thrive in arguments and come out on top while keeping their cool.
I'm going to post this online that you would like people to be more accommodating of trans people and people of color at your events in future.
We will discuss 5 tactics they both use to win arguments and how you can immediately start using these tactics to your advantage. Beginning with the first thing we can learn from Jordan Peterson is how he doesn't let anyone take his argument out of context. Whenever Jordan catches someone trying to twist his words for whatever reason, he immediately catches it and addresses it before responding to their question.
But why shouldn't women have the right to choose not to have children, or the right to choose those demanding careers?
They do. They can. Yeah, that's fine.
But you're saying that makes them unhappy, by and large.
I'm saying that no, I'm not saying that. And I actually haven't said that so far.
You're
in the
saying
program.
it makes them miserable.
No, I
at the
said that
beginning.
what was making them miserable was having weak partners.
You can see in that clip, Kathy Newman tries to make him slip up by repeating "so you're saying" followed by something that aligns with her argument, but Jordan immediately catches onto it and corrects her. He's very deliberate and careful with the words he says, so it's hard for anyone to put him in a box or for him to slip up.
You say you believe in God. You have been...
No, I say I act as if he exists.
You say what?
I say I act as if he exists,
Okay,
which
so-
is a much more precise claim.
Okay, so then what...
So on top of not letting anyone take your opinions out of context, also be deliberate but careful with your words. All it takes is for you to slip up once, so if you need to take a couple extra seconds to compose your thoughts before speaking them, do so. Don't let someone criticize you with no validity in their argument. Get the argument straight first before you start defending whatever they're criticizing. You can see Ben Shapiro do the same thing in this clip.
Would you vote for Mr. Trump in 2020?
I'd certainly consider voting for Mr. Trump in 2020, just like I'd consider voting for anybody else in 2020.
But didn't you once say that you'd never vote for him?
I said that I wouldn't vote for him in 2016. And then I wrote a column for National Review explaining the conditions under which I might change my mind.
Sometimes people just love to argue for the sake of arguing and don't even really know what their actual opinion is on the matter. The next important tactic is to have examples and evidence to back up your argument, as well as ask the other person for their examples and evidence.
When you say institutional racism, it's too broad. You at least have to name me the institution. Which one is the racist one? Which institution is racist? Tell me which, so we can fight it, seriously, so we can fight it together. Just shouting slogans like institutional racism is not effective. Shouting white privilege is not effective. I want to be on your side. I do. I want to fight racists. I think racist behavior is evil. I want to fight it with you.
This one can't be stressed enough. There are a number of ways you can view this concept. Like I said before, arguments are going to vary, but in this case, the concept remains the same. It comes down to being able to confidently back up your argument with valid reasoning and evidence. Now more than ever, we are surrounded by news and various other sources trying to change and control our thinking.
CNN has obtained
Good evening
new
from
text
Miami. In November 2021.
Many people will hear things from the news or podcasts or even just someone they sat next to on the bus, and they'll naturally take on an opinion just from hearing a couple of sentences on the topic. Once they gain this new perspective, you better believe they're ready to argue it. But the truth will show when you ask them why they have that opinion and what is their reasoning and evidence supporting that opinion. People like Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro rarely find themselves in this situation.
Meaning that if you're richer, you tend to be married longer on average. People who are poorer tend to get divorced more
Where did
often.
you get that statistical
The
trend?
Census Bureau.
To be
No,
like the men.
it's not true. It's not true. So, for
Where's the
example,
evidence?
well, I can give you an example very quickly. So I work.
Stay true to yourself and your opinions, and be willing to back them up. Something else we can learn from Jordan Peterson is to not be emotionally attached to your opinion. Don't be so attached to your opinion that you become irrational.
Man, you're almost impossible to talk to. You're so full of rhetoric that it's impossible to listen to you.
The feeling
I would
is
be more than
mutual.
happy to listen to you.
Yeah,
I
really.
said I was devoid of rhetoric. And I don't really think I am a rhetorician. Just so you know that. And it's very hard to listen to you. I mean, it's very hard to attend to you.
The ability to listen to the other person's perspective from an unemotional point of view will allow you to thrive in an argument as well as come out on top. Just for reference, here's what not to do. Listen to the person behind the camera who asked Jordan a question, then proceeded to get emotional and assume his views when he started to answer.
Objectively, an English word, singular they pronouns, grammatically correct. Do you think that you can choose to not respect something that is in the English language as a professor, as an academic, that you are going to that you are
absolutely. I am choosing.
But you're ignoring rules of the English language to go out of your way to disrespect students.
That's your opinion, and I'm not going.
It is my
to
opinion.
disrespect students.
You will learn and grow much more when you start caring more about solving the issue at hand and hearing other perspectives versus being tied to your opinion. Obviously, there are different types of arguments. You can be arguing about big issues such as the border crisis, or simply arguing with your roommate over who should do the dishes.
I think it's your turn to do the dishes. I don't think so, no.
Point is, be willing to compromise and hear the other person's side, or else you'll just end up in a shouting match and all you've done is wasted your time. Another tactic that can be used is to make it clear you hear what they're saying and have considered their perspective. When someone disagrees with you and is emotionally invested in the argument, the last thing you want to do is immediately tell them why they're wrong. Take a look at this clip of Jordan Peterson and pay attention to how he responds to the other person's argument.
Okay, so I agree with your diagnosis completely. And I think that, you know, even in the West, to ignore the fact that many of our hierarchies tilt towards tyranny and that prejudice still exists in multiple forms is a mistake, although it's only one factor among many and shouldn't be identified as the primary causal determinant of each individual's life. I think
people will be more willing to change their mind if they know that you listen to their argument. You can do this in a couple different ways. One way is by stating anything you agree with about their argument. 90% of their argument might seem illogical, but if you agree with anything, make that clear.
So in that sense, I'm not really an atheist. I've heard you say this. So that,
Well, some of you is.
Well, if I were really an atheist, I would be far more poorly behaved than in fact I am. Right? I would be like Raskolnikov committing murders and assuming there was nothing wrong with it.
It would be more likely, yes.
Just don't make them feel dumb about their argument, even if you believe their argument is dumb and has no logic. It's many people's natural response to get defensive and become closed off when their opinions get questioned, especially if it's in an aggressive way. Another way is by showing that you're already familiar with their argument and then pointing out the flaws with it. Take a look at this next clip of Ben Shapiro and Piers Morgan. Also, disclaimer, I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with any of the points in this video. I'm just using it to demonstrate this point.
They want to take away certain types of guns,
They want to take away assault weapons, which are capable with magazines like we saw at Aurora and Sandy Hook of unleashing a ridiculous amount of bullets.
Well, this is a question I wanted to ask you, Piers, because I've seen you talk about assault weapons a lot, and I've seen Mark Kelly talk about assault weapons. The vast majority of murders in this country that are committed with guns are not committed with assault weapons, they're committed with handguns. Okay, so are you willing to ban handguns in this country across the country?
No, that's not what I'm asking.
Now let's look at this using a more relatable example. Let's say you're arguing with your roommate. You want to renew your lease for your first floor apartment, but your roommate thinks you should move to a unit on the 3rd floor. You both agree that it would be nice to have a better view, but you like being able to walk straight from your car into your apartment as opposed to going upstairs. Instead of just saying that you like the convenience of the 1st floor, instead, start with saying that you do understand that the 3rd floor could give a better view, but there's not an elevator, and if we were to move up there, we would need to carry our 3 couches up the stairs, which weigh 400 pounds. Not to mention, our windows would just face the building next to us, so the view wouldn't be anything special. By pointing out flaws with their argument, as opposed to just stating why they're wrong, will make them more willing to change their mind because you aren't attacking their opinion, you're just pointing out another perspective that they may not have considered. The final tactic is to make it clear that you're actively listening. If the other person feels heard, you're more likely to actually make progress with them. Try repeating what they say back to them or nodding your head while they speak.
And create that, fair crack of the whip and that equality of opportunity to see where you get to with the outcomes.
That's
now,
fine.
We are in very early stages. It's only 100 years since, women got the vote in this country. We have had a long-established patriarchal society and set up for a long time in the world in this country. So I think we have a long way to...
Don't nod so much that it seems like you're agreeing with them, but nod in a way so they feel like you're completely hearing what they have to say. While it sounds simple, and it is, this can make all the difference in winning an argument. In turn, people will be willing to hear you and listen to your perspective if you listen to theirs. The secret to never getting anywhere in an argument is to not let the other person feel they're being heard.
This is what everyone does. civil rights in Mar-a-Lago, don't go together.
Kaylee, time out.
Let me finish what I was saying.
Kaylee, but I need you to retract.
I know you don't.
Ideally, let the other person share their opinion first so you can follow up with your argument and can point out how it is the better option compared to theirs.
That's part of power. And power is one of the means by which people climb hierarchies, although the more you can climb a hierarchy by exercising power, the more that's an indication of the fact that that hierarchy has become corrupt.
If you really want to improve your chances of winning an argument, combine both listening to their perspective and nodding. And if you really want to improve your chances of winning an argument, start implementing all of these tactics we talked about. The best approach is to learn one at a time instead of trying to learn and do all of these tactics in your next argument. Focus on one tactic and try it out in your next argument. Then add in another, and so on until you're doing all 5 of these without even thinking because they come so naturally to you. To recap one last time, don't let anyone take your argument out of context. Have examples and evidence to back up your argument, and be prepared to ask them for examples and evidence for their argument. Don't be emotionally attached to your opinion. Make it clear that you have considered their perspective, and lastly, actively listen to what they have to say. I hope this video has been helpful and you will consider subscribing. We have lots more videos like this coming in the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.